So the passage I chose is from a novel called Olive's Ocean by Kevin Hanks, and you can read here as I read aloud. The glittery feeling. She named it because it felt to her as if her skin and everything beneath it briefly became shiny and jumpy and bubbly, as if glitter materialized inside her, then rose quickly through the layers of tissue that comprised her, momentarily sparkling all over the surface of her skin before dissipating into the air. So I think Kevin Hanks did a really good job making this passage sound poetic and descriptive. And there are three main reasons for why I think this passage is so successful. So the first is I think syntax was really well used by Kevin Hanks. The first sentence is three words, the glittery feeling. It's actually an incomplete sentence. It doesn't have an action or a verb. It just states one description, which is the glittery feeling. And I think this was used for emphasis. Because it's so short and so direct, Kevin Hanks wants the readers to know that this is what he's going to talk about and this is the significant part of the passage. And then the next sentence is actually a run-on, and it goes on and on and on, and it breaks the rules again. So Kevin Hanks breaks the rules twice because the first sentence is too short and the second sentence is too long. But anyways, I think did this on purpose because the first sentence is short and choppy, so it's direct. And then the second sentence has more flow and rhythm, so you keep reading on and on and on. And in the second sentence, he keeps describing the glittery feeling, so the reader gets a sense of what that feeling is. And because it's not chopped off or because it's all one sentence, the reader knows that it's all combined together and that each step of how everything became shiny and jumpy, how the glitter materialized, how it raised through the tissues and how it sparkled into her skin and dissipated to the air, all those steps are combined together to describe that one glittery feeling. So I think the syntax is a really important structure that Kevin Hanks used in order to describe and really make this passage as well written as it is. The second part that I think is really important was diction. I think Kevin Hanks did an excellent job choosing words that help the tone of the passage and help readers to understand what this glittery feeling is. So he uses words that are very optimistic. For example, glittery, shiny, jumpy, bubbly, sparkling, all these words that are happy connotations. And so people know that the tone of this passage is extremely happy, optimistic, and hopeful, and that this glittery feeling is something good, something that the protagonist is very satisfied with. And so when readers read this, they have a good feeling and they understand that the protagonist is happy and so that the passage has a good aurora. And so his diction is very strong, and I like how he uses words that are related to kind of metallic images, for example, glittery, shiny, sparkling, and so these words make you think of very kind of like fairy dust or like something that's something related to fantasy that would make readers kind of understand that this glittery feeling is something beyond just the normal emotion that humans feel. Last but not least, I think this is the most important aspect Kevin Hanks used to make this passage powerful. I think imagery is an extremely important element that Kevin Hanks used when he wrote this passage. So there's two types of imagery in this passage. The first one is appeal to imagery of sight, and I think the way that he used sight imagery is really well written. Once again, as I mentioned before, he uses a lot of descriptions that make you think of metallic, shiny objects because he describes it as a glittery feeling. And so the way he describes how the glitter comes from inside and dissipates outside of her body kind of reminds me of, well, in my case, I think of golden kind of dust inside a soul, and then it goes out onto the skin, and then it slowly turns into the mist and the aurora around the person. And so I find that to be extremely pleasant to imagine, and I'm sure other people will interpret this passage to see something similar related to that. So I think the usage of sight in this passage was really powerful. Also, tactile imagery is really, really important and well used here. So basically, tactile imagery is when the reader can feel or sense the feeling of what the passage is like. And so Kevin Hanks makes you understand this glittery feeling, how it makes you feel really good and bubbly inside, and how it can spread outward outside of your body and emanate into the air. And so I feel like as if the tactile imagery, this way, the way that he describes the words with glittery and how it comprised through her tissues of the body and how it moves into the air. I feel like as if readers would be able to sympathize with this and understand what the Kevin Hanks is trying to say, and that they would understand this feeling, this glittery, hopeful feeling. And so, once again, I think Kevin Hanks did an amazing job when it comes down to describing this kind of feeling. And it sounds so poetic, and his adjectives are so well used, and the syntax is so smooth and clear. And honestly, I think that authors who are able to describe themes such as emotions, colors, moods, those kinds of topics, I feel like those are the hardest kinds of topics to describe. And if the author can successfully pull that off, I feel like as if that is extremely good writing. And I think Kevin Hanks is a prime example of this, where he describes this optimistic feeling by using words and adjectives and syntax and diction. And so this is a quote that I believe is very strong and well written.